Hello, BookTube. There's a new BookTube event for September, a very intriguing BookTube event called Framed. I mentioned it yesterday. It's it's hosted by the very dregs of BookTube, but it's all about art. It's all about art, and there are three prompts, two main ones and one possible extra. One is to read an art-related book in September. Not really a big ask. I tend to read many. Then two is to go and experience art of some kind. Uh, Naturally, the first thing that comes to mind is to go to a museum show of some kind or other, go to a museum or an exhibit in an art gallery or something like that. But one of the deplorable hosts of Framed reminded me that could just be going out and appreciating the art that you see on a walk, architecture, for instance, or whatever. Even one particular example that came to mind as soon as I thought about that is eons past in a different neighborhood in a different lifetime when it would have been graffiti, which is illegal and disrespectful and expensive to all of us. It shouldn't exist, but there's no denying the art involved in making it on public places, in places where, I don't necessarily want to see your gang slogan, but that's entirely possible. And then the third, the optional prompt, is to make art of your own. I'm strongly tempted to do that, to do a little sketching with you and maybe talk a little about how that works. I'm not good, but I've been doing it a long time. I think I can at least talk about the basics. But in the meantime, one of the disreputable hosts of this event, I think it was Greg at another Bibliophile Reads, did a video about some of his art books as a kind of a pointed shelf tour. I thought that was a great idea. I'll leave a link to his video down below. That was a great idea. I should do that a few times this month, show you some art books of mine. So I have a few here that show not only a little variety of what I have, but also a little variety of what an art book can do or be. They take all sorts of forms. They fill a spectrum. Like, for instance, as long as I'm talking about Greg's video, I might as well show you this. This is a collection of men's adventure covers. Covers from old men's adventure magazines. There's a guy fighting a giant octopus. It's one of them is going to get that swordfish, either him or the octopus. And the swordfish is saying, "Well, neither one works for me." Here you've got our hero is desperately trying to cut the bridge so those bandits can't get him and his flower-wearing young woman. Here we've got look at that. All Man magazine. He is being presented to Deb and her friends, and these are all periodic. This is from Taschen, I believe. Yeah, Taschen makes this book, and they just reprint all of these covers, take you on a tour of what was once upon a time an incredibly popular subgenre of literature and magazines, was men's adventure magazines. And because you're getting that, you're going to get a lot of racial stuff that doesn't it wouldn't fly today. It's a little bit on the reductive side, but you also get just amazingly suggestive covers that make you want to make up an adventure on your own, and really good artwork too, really in a lurid kind of way, but really, really good artwork. Let's get you another prime example here. Okay, well, a lot of it is scandalous. Like, for instance, this. There's a lot going on that cover. You've got an evil monocle-wearing Nazi. He's doing something to her, dripping something on her, and then there's this guy who isn't fully dressed, and she's got a skull instead of a face. What on earth? What on earth could any of that mean? Okay, some of them are a little bit weird. This is War Criminals magazine. There's Joseph Goebbels on the cover there. I don't know why you'd want a picture of him. But this takes you through. Oh, look at that! Did I just spot the evil Fidel Castro? I did. That bastard. This is just a wonderful, wonderful tour of that kind of lurid artwork, which does count. It's at the lower end of the aesthetic scale, but it does count. Then we have something of a totally different kind, which is an art instruction manual. Do well. Every year, a couple of them do really well. Some of them have been monumental in their sales, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, for instance, or 2 decades before that, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Comics Way. instructional manuals like that. I've never found, or actually three decades before How to Draw Comics the Marvel Comics Way would be Dynamic Anatomy by the great Bernie Hogarth, who wrote for the comics, drew for the comics. I've never found those instructional things to be much help, but I think that's probably because, as I mentioned, I'm not good. I don't have any talent. But they still regularly come out. Here's a big hardcover, Drawing Nature, which gives you step-by-step breakdowns and visual instructions of how to get from basics to this. Like a lot of these kinds of instructional books, it really doesn't slow down for you. They're a little bit on the fake side. Like, what's his name? What was the name of that guy with the bushy afro who did all the feel-good nature paintings? His name's on the tip of my tongue. He was parodied on Saturday Night Live. But he will just set up a stretched canvas, and he'll have his palette and he'll have his paints, and he'll think, oh, what are we gonna draw today? Maybe a mountain scene. And he makes a gesture in the video as though he's teaching you how to do it, but he's drawing, in order to do that in 30 minutes, he's drawing on a lifetime of experience that you don't have. So you're going to need every single thing that he's brushing by, no pun intended, detailed and explained, and you don't get that in the videos. And a lot of these books are the same way. They will say, well, the first step to drawing, a sandpiper is to draw a sandpiper. Thanks. I know that. I need to know how to do it. So that's another thing, is instructional manuals. I have a few of those. I don't know why. I don't ever use them. This one I know why, because it's really pretty. It's a big hardcover. I forget how much this cost. But this has not only preliminary sketches to show you where to put in grains and textures and all, but also lots of finished stuff, which is really nice to look at. That's from Princeton, the great folks at Princeton University Press. Then I have two examples of the next kind of art book that I want to show you, which is an art retrospective. It's the thing you're most likely to think of when you think of an art book, where you go to the Turner exhibit at your museum, and there will be a dedicated book for the exhibit. You can't go and stay at the exhibit. You can maybe go many, many times. That happens. In Boston, that has happened sometimes to record-breaking extents. But you can't stay. So you want a keepsake. So you buy a book. And also there's was I don't know if there is anymore, a fairly good market for artist retrospectives that aren't connected to exhibits. So Greg, in his video, shows you a couple for Goya. That I think at least one of the books that he held up was not connected to any museum exhibit at all. It was just, here are the paintings and here's a brief prose sketch of the author's life and times. You can find a lot of art books like that. I often do. And this is one, they vary in quality. Those books, like all other books, vary in quality. I found one that's not good. When I look for an artist retrospective, an artist overview like that of an art book, I look for a few things. Up until the 1960s and 1970s, those books were usually printed almost entirely in black and white, which is, it was fine when we couldn't do any better, but it's unacceptable now. If you're getting an overview of, I don't even know, the paintings of Corot, you want them all in color. You don't want black and white reproductions or anything like that. And before photography, an art book like that would get you just etching reproductions. It wouldn't even be the thing. So I look for that. I try to have all these things only in color if I can, unless the artist didn't work in color. And then I look for elaborateness. So if I come across a small book of Norman Rockwell, well, I don't want a small book of Norman Rockwell. I want a gigantic book of Norman Rockwell. Or J.C. Leyendecker, or whoever, Child Hassam. I want a big book of them. So something like this is an art book of Sir Lawrence Al-Mutadama, who's one of my favorite Victorian artists. I absolutely love his work. But this is a tiny thing. It's an ugly thing. It was obviously meant just to do that sort of thing. So you get a black and white biographical sketch at the front, which is actually quite good. This would be the author, Vern Swanson. Who is Vern Swanson, actually? Can we check and see? Born in Oregon, received a BA at Brigham Young, MA from the University of Utah, and he is pursuing his PhD at Case Western. Okay, so he was a student. Well, that would account for, or she was a student. That would account for the earnestness of the introduction. But once you get past the introduction, then you get each painting on a full page, with the larger paintings going over to 2 pages instead of going into vertical mode. And that's what I look for in these. I look for something that's going to give me the artwork in full detail. I would want something better than this. There is an Alma Tadema book out there that is better than this. It's bigger. I just never bother to look for it, but I should. Let's see. I'll show you the other example of this that I'm talking about, which is in much, much worse shape. Prepare yourself. I know some of you are a little bit delicate on the shape of books. This is much earlier. This is a century earlier than that Alma Tadema book. And this is a survey of the drawings of Hans Holbein. So this big thing with the embossed head of Holbein on the cover there. And this, oh my God, this is my stuff has looked better than this. There's a reason why this is in the shape that it is. An 85-pound basset hound who was not right in the head took it into her mind one morning that she maybe thought she wanted to mate with this book, and that didn't go easy for anybody. It turned out that the book wasn't interested. No one was ever interested. Fire hydrants, cats, other dogs, one swan. They just weren't interested in My Little Hippo, but she kept trying. But this is a huge, ornate thing. It's full of prose. And the prose is all dedicated to the sitters, it's all dedicated to the individual works of Holbein, each one of which is anatomized. So you've got the onion skin paper here, and then you've got the work and a lot of description of what that work is. And this extends to Holbein's woodcuts. It extends to... oh my God, did I turn to you by accident? I did. It extends to his famous portraits, and everything else, everything in between. It's including the... see, I've got... This is volume 1. You can't tell anymore. You can tell on the... No, you can't tell anywhere anymore. Lucy actually tore off every bit of description from the book. That's volume 1, and this is volume 2, which is in better shape. And is more of the same. And anything that Holbein did in color is here in color as well, with the onion skin protector pages, and tons of description of who it is, what they were, when it's likely that they sat for Holbein, all that kind of thing. Fascinating. Just fascinating. I wish that volume 1 were in better condition. I certainly do. I don't often see these things. I've never seen them before, but... I will see another copy of this set. I'm sure that I will. And this is even... it's 100 times more elaborate than this, obviously, because it's everything, in every bit of detail imaginable. And I like that. I really do. I like that a lot. And there's a part of me that actually prefers that to a smaller and quicker tour through the highlights. That's why, if it's a famous artist that I like, I tend to be picky. I tend to wait for an artist retrospective that is detailed enough to warrant it. And then the last thing I want to show you here is a little bit of an oddity. It brings a smile to my face every time I open it, and I open it a lot because it's downright weird. It's downright weird. It's this. Propaganda from Star Wars. It's an art collection. It's a collection of posters that a galaxy far, far away, long, long ago, that you might have seen in that galaxy. They are explained. These promotional posters are explained in universe. I don't know if I'm making that clear. Here's a promotional poster for the Outer Rim. Do you want to go to the Outer Rim and settle there? Lots of chances for opportunity. These posters have never appeared in any Star Wars show. They've never appeared on any Star Wars book, although maybe some of the characters in here have. Because believe it or not, there are characters in here. So let me get you an example of what I'm talking about here. Yes, okay. The Confederacy of Independent Systems if you know from the wretched Star Wars prequel movies, they have a beef against the Council of Senators, the actual Imperial Senate. They have a beef against the Imperial Senate that is eventually going to rupture the whole of the world in splinters and in rebellion and in whatnot. And they made a poster. The Confederacy of Independent Systems made a poster. There are 2,000 senators inside this building. None of them care about you. And there is the original script that this was in. there's let me find you another example here. Oh my God, this is just it's so incredibly. You've got a promotional poster for the Clone Wars. Unite for peace. Support your stormtroopers. You've got in the Republic, the underground prejudice against droids that we see in the original Star Wars movie, which I am not going to call A New Hope. It is Star Wars. In the original Star Wars movie, when Luke goes to the cantina in Mos Eisley, the bartender says, "No droids. Your droids aren't welcome in here. They have to sit outside." When we've seen that droids are everywhere in the Star Wars galaxy. So why is that? And what does that mean? And here we get a poster. Do you know who else she's talking to? Who to sow distrust for your droid? Let's see here. You're supposed to buy Republic war bonds to support our troops. There's Senator Palpatine only needs your support. He's just trying to save the Republic. All I want is all the power that there is in an emergency declaration, and I will save the Republic. Do not bind his hands. Lead him on to victory. We go on from there. The Republic falls, the Empire takes over, and we have propaganda of a different kind. Attention, Imperial subjects. Remember to carry your papers with you at all times. Oh my, things have changed. We have an advertisement for a gigantic starship. Security and strength, order and obedience. Oh my, that's not good. But we have the rebellion breeding in the background. We can do it. We have some photos from the show. Not many. Most of this is artwork. These posters that were made to sway public opinion one way or another. So you have Princess Leia Organa saying, "We can do it." But you also have, "Do you think they want peace? Rebels are terrorists." And you've got X-Wing fighters, but they're the bad guys. Now, with, let's see here. Conscripted into the service of the Empire, what will you do when it happens here? You've got that as a poster, okay? So those are all throughout this book. But you also have a description of the poster. In universe, it was made by someone named Sepa Bonshu. While the bulk of Imperial service in the core worlds was volunteer-based, in time, the pressing needs of Imperium expansion required conscription with steep quotas. It was not just armed force services. The Empire began compelling citizens to fulfill its enormous demands for support staff, construction, and other labor. Resistance to the Empire transformed from an abstract political stance of ideas to a more immediate need for freedom. Some of the earliest messages against the Empire came from family members and community groups who had their numbers raided by callous Imperials out to distant bureaucratic whims. This rare political work from this early era features Darth Vader as a central design, but it is no accident. The artist hails from Ryosa, a world where Darth Vader oversaw the subjugation and impressment of population into labor camps. This poster, which doesn't exist anywhere except in this book, has a history all of its own. For this one, "Do you think they want peace?" the artist, we're told, is unknown. In the early stages of the rebellion, the hearts and minds of the citizenry proved to be the most powerful battleground. The vast machinery of Compnor and imperial propaganda bureaus could quickly transform a rebel victory into a terrorist strike, complete with inflated casualty reports and manufactured atrocities. Particularly vexing to the nascent rebellion was a lack of coordination among cells to verify the truth or expose the lies of such claims. Furthermore, there were well-documented incidents where overzealous factions, acting independently of the larger rebellion, carried out devastating attacks that resulted in civilian deaths. The rebels, led by Saw Gerrera, were one notorious example, and the Empire capitalized on their indiscriminate actions to paint the entire rebel movement as bloodthirsty monsters. That's the explanation of this poster, which does not exist except in this book. Here we're told, remember Alderaan. It just goes on. All throughout the book, it just goes on. It's absolutely surreal. I got this from the publisher, and I had no idea what it was. I saw the cover, and I think for an instant I thought, okay, this is going to be a collection of Star Wars posters, which would be a great book, and I'm sure already exists as an art book. But no, this is a book of Star Wars posters. Posters in the Star Wars universe. With an explanation of who their art and artist is. Nevertheless, it's all really good in terms of artwork. It's the strangest art book that I have. So anyway, I thought I'd show it to you. It's the strangest art book that I have, mainly because I did not think to get a copy of Sex by Madonna when we couldn't keep it in the store. Even though it was expensive and it was metal, we couldn't keep it in the store, and I didn't get a copy for myself. I should have. But I was revolted by the thing. I was revolted by the venality that it brought out in the customers, so I didn't get a copy. So this is the strangest art book that I have, a collection of in-universe Star Wars propaganda posters. Just shows you the breadth of what's out there for framed. So I asked in yesterday's video when I mentioned this, tell me all about your own artistic situation. I want to know more. Keep in mind, if you didn't watch that video, and maybe you're watching this one, I want to know, what is your artistic situation? Do you have art on the walls at your home? Do you have something that really pleases you as the background on your laptop, your desktop? Do you make art of your own? Do you have a good museum near you, or more than one good museum near you? I would love to hear about it all, and what you plan to do, if anything, for framed. But I'm going to wrap this up for now. I just wanted to show you some of these. Maybe I'll do another one of these in a few days. Maybe I'll grab some more art books and show you some other examples. But in the meantime, I'm going to, since I took it off the shelf, I'm going to sink myself in to this, to hold mine, because this book is a feast, an absolute feast. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.